manufacturing and production. It will subsequently be a 4-line fill and finish to fill any type of vaccine. With the state-of-the-art technology, directors of DEC Vaccines say the fill and finish facility will have the capacity to fill both mRNA and traditional vaccines. The $122.6 million facility is expected to engage 250 full-time personnel, and the first phase is expected to be completed by the end of 2024. This fulfills the President's promise in 2021 to establish a vaccine manufacturing plant in Ghana. The managing director of DEC Vaccines, Dr. Kofi Nsia-Poku, said first production is expected in 2025.
The World Health Organization has declared a need for the preparedness of the next pandemic. This DEC factory is designed to have a reserve capacity for any emergency or pandemic, making it special as a socio-economic business venture.
A presidential advisor on health, Dr. Anthony Nsia-Sari, said the plant, which is private sector-led in collaboration with the Vaccine Manufacturing Committee, is a giant step in making Ghana a vaccine manufacturing hub.
Local vaccine production is crucial for our health security, but it also makes business sense and rams well with Your Excellency, your noble industrialization agenda in making Ghana a hub for pharmaceutical production, at least for our sub-region and even more for Africa.
The European Union is supporting the project with €5 million. The EU ambassador, Mr. Aykad Razali, said the European Union is a willing partner in this effort.
We have begun last year in supporting regulatory aspect of vaccine manufacturing, and now we are complementing with local production as well.
The President, Nana Akufo-Addo, said the DEC vaccine plant is a vision realization, setting the tone to make Ghana a vaccine hub in Africa.
In the short term of 2 years, DEKS Vaccines Limited will fill, finish and package COVID-19 and the other vaccines I have enumerated. In the medium term, that is in 5 years, the target is to continue the establishment of more domestic vaccine manufacturing plants in the country, to manufacture vaccines to meet WHO GMP standards, with a long-term target being to produce a candidate vaccine in 10 years using innovative technology.
DEC vaccine manufacturing plant is the largest vaccine manufacturing plant in Africa. It is anticipated that this new chapter will help Africa to reduce her 99% reliance on external sources for vaccines in a period of pandemics.
Let's take you to the Jubilee House now, where the Fisheries Association of Ghana met with President Akufo-Addo on Monday. At the Jubilee House, issues discussed were about tax exemptions, subsidies for fuel for large vessels, and the imminent threats of pirates in the Gulf of Guinea. The association also asked for special arrangements to get cheap fuel for fishermen and establishment of a Blue Economy Authority to regulate all activities in the fisheries industry and the restoration of the Gihok boat yard. Now, President Akufo-Addo said government would look into all the issues and take the appropriate steps.
The National Fisheries Association of Ghana put before the President matters standing in the way of their smooth operations and requiring urgent attention. These include subsidies for fuel for large vessels, the imminent threats of pirates which has already started in Côte d'Ivoire, high cost of fuel for fishermen, regulations of the sector which fall under several state agencies, and the restoration of the Gihok boat yard to enable them carry out maintenance works on their vessels. According to them, failure to address these issues will impact on the operations. Mr. Rich Star Amafio is the acting secretary of the National Fisheries Association of Ghana.
We are getting signals that the pirates are coming back. One of the things we wanted to raise was if it was possible that fuel for the industry will be looked at again so that we don't operate with the market forces. because fuel constitutes about 60% or more of our cost of operation. Almost everything we buy, even water from the port, the rates are tagged to the dollar. And all our ship stores, spare parts, attract high. It used to be duty free. Now it attracts high duty, up to 25% or more. And so it's really making the operations of our businesses run at a very high cost.
The Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, Madam Hawa Kumsin, said her ministry has taken note of the urgent issues that must be addressed.
The issue of the tax exemption, yes, I've even discussed with the finance minister. They did not come with a complaint, but the other importers of fishing inputs. So I've had that discussion with him. And also what they said about the NGO. Their thinking is that since premise is on subsidy, they should also have the same. And I tell them that their vessels are very big. And so if government is going to commit, it's going to cost government a lot.
President Akufo-Addo said the sector is crucial to Ghana's economy and government will look into the issues and address them. He commended the entire industry for complying with the closed season.
I think that the matters that you have brought here, especially about the boatyard, GEHOC, the restoration of all these facilities, are matters we will look into very closely with her, and you will get some feedback from us as to the way forward. The other issues, marine oil, fuel, and subsidies on them, these are matters where the finance minister will also have to come in for us to look to what extent the suggestions that you're making are. I'm happy about the beneficial effect of the close season. I think it's an important thing that has been done, and I'm happy that today the entire fisheries industry recognizes the merit in having the close season as a normal feature of the life of the industry every year. I think it's something that has proved to be very beneficial both to our fish resources and also for the industry itself.
The association commended the initiatives to make premix fuel readily available and the protection of the country's waters to ward off any pirate threats.
Let's take you to the courts now. From unconfirmed reports, President Akufo-Addo has penciled the Supreme Court Judge Justice Gertrude Torkornoo as Ghana's next Chief Justice. Justice Gertrude Torkornoo will replace Chief Justice Kwesi Anini-Yeboah, who is expected to retire on May 24, 2023, when he attains the mandatory retirement age of 70 years for justices of the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. According to reports, the Council of State has already given the go-ahead to appoint Justice Torkornoo as the new head of Ghana's judiciary. The report also suggests that President Akufo-Addo is soon to submit his appointment of Justice Torkornoo to Parliament for approval in accordance with Article 144 Clause 1 of the 1992 Constitution. If appointed, Justice Torkornoo will be the third appointment to the office of Chief Justice since President Nana Akufo-Addo became a president in 2017. She will also be the third female Chief Justice in the history of Ghana after Justices Georgina Theodora Wood and Sophia Kufu. Let's look at legal matters. Now, lawyers for the Minority Leader for Parliament and former Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. Kesel Atu-Forsyth, have told the court they will be calling 9 witnesses to testify in the defense of Dr. Forsyth in his ongoing trial involving 2 others over the purchase of some ambulances. The Accra High Court on the last adjourned date ordered the Minority Leader and his co-accused persons to open their defense in the matter after it held that a prima facie case has been established against them, which they had to answer.
Dr. Atu-Forsyth, together with the former Chief Director of the Ministry of Health, Mr. Sylvester Animana, and the businessman, Mr. Richard Jakpa, have been accused of causing financial loss to the state of 2.3 1.37 million euros in the deal to purchase some ambulances for the country. Between 2014 and 2018, the 3 accused persons have all pleaded not guilty to charges and have been on trial since April 2022. The 3 accused persons filed submissions of no case after the prosecution closed its case after calling 5 witnesses. Lawyers for the minority lawmaker contended that the prosecution failed to adduce any cogent evidence to compel him to put up a defense. However, the court in its previous hearing ruled for the 3 to open their defense following the decision that they had a case to answer. On Tuesday, a lawyer for Dr. Atuforsen, Dr. Basit Bamba, informed the court that they have filed 2 applications. The first is for leave to file a witness statement, and the second is an application for disclosures by the Attorney General. He also told the court they have been unable to have a conference with some of the witnesses because they are outside the country. Per his information to the court, they will call 9 witnesses, including the Chief Director at the Ministry of Finance and also the Controller and Accountants General. The defense team for Dr. Atuforsen is asking for 5 different documents from the prosecution in discourses which include a warrant for payment that details the person who authorized such payments. The second and third accused persons also told the court they will call 6 and 5 witnesses respectively. The president of the 3-member panel of judges, Justice Efia Sewa Sariboche, ruled that the prosecution has until Friday, April 21, 2023 to file the disclosures, and also directed the defense to file their witness statements and exhibits on or before May 4, 2023. The case is adjourned to May 9, 2023 at 10 a.m. for case management conference.
Let's take you to the Central Region and look at education. The classroom block of the Dunkwa Senior High Technical School has been destroyed by a severe rainstorm in the Dunkwa Nofing in the Upper Dainchira East Municipality of the Central Region. The school brought down power lines. The storm brought down power lines and tore up the school building's roof, destroying certain instructional materials used by both teachers and students.
With GBC News, the headmistress of Dunkwa Senior High Technical School, Mrs. Patience Lakolate, explained that the severe downpour that destroyed the roof of the 7-unit classroom building also ripped off the roof of the staff common room, the administration building, and destroyed the school bus. She added that nobody was injured.
We appeal to individuals and interested parties to help reconstruct the damaged block.
Roofing sheets and in structure said the classes no Form 3-4 especially pending was your metro.
The Director for National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, in the Upper Dainchira East, Mr. Al-Hassan Yakubu, visited the scene to gather the essential information and gave the public the advice to always make sure their roofs are strengthened.
Since we are in the rainy season, anyone who has a damaged roofing must repair it as soon as possible.
You're still watching GTV Breakfast News. Now, the Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Mr. Stephen Asamoah Boateng, says it is a priority of the government to resolve the Bawku Chieftaincy conflict by 2024. On a visit to Bawku, Mr. Asamoah Boateng says pursuing legitimate means and the rule of law to settle the protracted ethnic conflicts in the area is the way to go. He appeals to the traditional authorities in the area to support government's efforts to bring finality to the conflict.
Mr. Stephen Asamoah Boateng was in Bawku to meet the traditional authorities in the area and gather first-hand information on the chieftaincy dispute. The interaction is expected to find the best way to engage the people and find a common ground for peace and stability in Boko. In the company of some security personnel, the team met members of the Boko Traditional Council and the Paramount Chief at the Boko Nabes Palace on a workable roadmap for resolving the conflict. Mr. Stephen Asamoah Boateng urged the two warring factions to give peace a chance.
There would be a roadmap that we can all follow. I know there will be difficulties along the way. I know there will be challenges along the way. I know there will be compromises along the way. I know the core values will be protected so that you don't compromise too much too. So at the end of it, there will be peace, lasting peace.
He said government will employ all strategies while allowing the rule of law to take its course in the matter.
The number one job for any government, if you are worth a salt, is to maintain law and order. That's number one job. If you wake up in the morning, you must be free enough to do what you want to do. If you are healthy, which God will give you, and you have the ability to fend for yourself, it is the state's responsibility to protect you. And that I can assure you, and that is the assurance I can give you, law and order is always at the heart of government. And the rule of law is our belief, and we would pursue it and make sure that people are happy and people abide by the rule of law so that we can all live peacefully.
Napa Asigri Abugrago Azoka was grateful to the minister for the visit and assured him of the cooperation of the Traditional Council to find lasting peace for Boko.
Away from Boko, the Deeper Life Bible Church says all is set for its global crusade with Pastor William F. Kumuyi. Pastor Kumuyi has arrived in Accra as the lead speaker of the crusade. The 5-day event is to take place at Accra's Independence Square and an open invitation to individuals and believers for supernatural healing, deliverance and salvation.
While serving as a maths lecturer at the University of Lagos, Professor W.F. Kumuyi started a Bible study group in 1993 with 15 university students who approached him for scripture studies. The group has grown over the years and is now a global outreach church with branches across the world and a congregation of over 1,000. The Deeper Life Bible Church is one of the third largest churches in the world. The April Crusade scheduled from the 20th to 25th is anticipated to be a gathering of tens of thousands of Christians across the country to witness the power of God through evangelism. It is to win souls for the kingdom of God, strengthen the faith of believers, and prepare them for the second advent of Christ. Pastor William F. Kumuyi is the convener of the Global Crusade.
The young people, they have upward to higher heights. Your children, your young people, and even people who are not claiming to be Christians or members of churches, we're inviting everyone. Whatever we can do to prepare this young generation for the church of the future, for the country of the future until Christ comes, this is our time.
The crusade is also expected to engage pastors, church leaders and ministers of its outreach, and also gets the youth involved in its Impact Academy program during the 5-day event.
Let's take you to the international front now. Fighting is continuing in areas of Sudan's capital, Khartoum, despite a ceasefire that was supposed to last for 24 hours. In particular, the battle has not stopped around the army headquarters, which is in the city center and is surrounded by residential areas. Two rival generals at the heart of the conflict had agreed to a 24-hour humanitarian pause to allow civilians to get medical help and supplies. Nearly 200 people have been killed in the fighting so far. The UNA chief has also warned of reports which say humanitarian workers are being attacked and sexually assaulted. The fighting is between army units loyal to the de facto leader, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the RSF, a notorious paramilitary force commanded by Sudan's deputy leader, Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo. Let's take you to Europe. Russian President Vladimir Putin has visited Russian-occupied parts of the Ukrainian region of Kherson. According to the Kremlin, he attended a military meeting to hear reports from commanders. Now, Mr. Putin is also thought to have visited the Luhansk region, Russia next Kherson and Luhansk last year. Such trips by the Russian leader are said to be rare, although he made a surprise visit to the city of Mariupol in March. It is not known when the trip to Kherson took place, but at one point in a photo release of the trip, Mr. Putin refers to the Easter holiday as coming up, suggesting that it happened some days ago. Orthodox Easter was celebrated some time ago. Now, the Kremlin has said that the trips were not prepared in advance. Reports indicate that the president also inquired about the situation in the Zaporizhzhia region, which Moscow has also claimed as part of Russia. Russian troops retreated from the city of Kherson late last year, losing the only regional capital it had managed to capture since Moscow invaded Ukraine in February 2022. However, some of the regions remains under Russian control. Back to Sudan. Sudan's paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, says it is committing to 24-hour ceasefire to allow safe passage of civilians and for humanitarian aid. In a statement on Tuesday, the head of RSF, Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, better known as Hemedti, said the deal had been reached following a conversation with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and other friendly nations. He accused the army of failing to honor an early ceasefire by the UN, saying the soldiers were allegedly bombing densely populated areas from the air and endangering civilian lives. These actions are a flagrant violation of the foundations and principles of international and humanitarian law, he added. Now, there has been no word yet from the Sudanese army on the ceasefire plea. Sounds of gunfire were heard in Khartoum on Tuesday morning, with a death toll now nearing 200. Still on Sudan's issues, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has had a phone conversation with Sudan's Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and the head of the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo. Amid fighting between the two forces, around 185 people have been killed, close to 200 since the fighting broke out on Saturday. Mr. Blinken tweeted that he underscored the urgent need for a ceasefire and stressed the importance of ensuring the safety of diplomatic personnel and aid workers. The RSF has acknowledged a phone call with Mr. Blinken on its social media page, but gave no firm commitment to end the hostilities. A second 3-hour ceasefire on Monday night was barely honored, with both sides blaming each other for the breach. An EU diplomat was assaulted in his official residence, while the UN said its agencies, warehouses and guest houses were shot at and looted. Now, some civilian homes have also been broken into and the residents were assaulted, but RSF denies involvement. The two military leaders disagreed on Sudan's future, including the integration of RSF into the national army. Let's look at how the cedi is performing on the interbank rates and the commodities market. 19th day of April. Let's see how weather will fare. I did see on my phone, though, that there will be some scattered showers of rain. Let's confirm that with our Chief Meteorology Officer, Felicity Ahafianyu from Ghana Meteo Agency. Good morning, Felicity.
Good morning, Maltete.
Really expecting some showers in the capital and across the country?
Yes, we are having a rainstorm that is approaching. It has done a night travel all the way from Nigeria, just Abuja. Currently, it's exiting into Benin, Togo. But it's looking a bit weak. But we are anticipating that the sunshine that we are going to enjoy this morning will rejuvenate it to affect most areas.
Right. Take it away, Felicity.
Yeah, so this morning it's going to be pretty cool for any outdoor activities across the 16 regions with partly cloudy sky, the sun also smiling on us. Temperatures for the coast will range between 31 and 33. For the middle sector, temperatures will range between 32 and 35 degrees Celsius. For the north, it's going to range between 37 and 40 degrees Celsius. In the afternoon into the evening, that's when we expect the rainstorm to engulf the country. Actually, from 4 to 5 hours from this time is the time that we are anticipating it to engulf. So those of us over the eastern flank of the country, stretching from Savannah region to Oti, Volta region, we expect them to have cloudy weather and the possibility of isolated to scattered cases of rain and thunderstorms. Then later in the afternoon, it will move over the western flank where Ashanti region, eastern part of Greater Accra, western north, and then the western portions of the Savannah area, and then those around the Gulf, Sunyani, Wenchi, Techimai, and its environs will also be engulfed. But we are monitoring in the next 2-3 hours. We will issue the weather warning to that effect. But for now, till the afternoon, we are looking at it to be a bit stable. And then once we are certain the storm will rejuvenate, we'll issue a warning to that effect.
It's rightly so. Thank you so much, Felicity Ahafianyu, for those important details. The storm is moving in from Nigeria, and so you'd want to be cautious out there. Just take precaution in case it does hit Ghana and wherever you are. Now that's it for GTV Breakfast News. There's more news when you do log on to gbcghanaonline.com. I'll be back at 7 with sports. But up next, ulcers is an issue that a lot of people are dealing with, and our nutritionist who keeps us on our toes when it comes to eating healthy is in the studio. Fozia Bedu, we're discussing that with one of our presenters, and then later we'll be looking at social media corner with Valerie as well, episode on the lifestyle segment of GTV Breakfast. Stay with us.